Hello and welcome to my channel. This is the 9th episode of the lessons that I'm sharing from my experience as a project manager, where I was able to implement 15 projects successfully. So that is the reason why I have to share with you these lessons in this video. You can apply them to your current projects, or you can even apply them to your future projects. This video is going to focus on the lessons that I've learned on a personal development category. So as a project manager, there's some personal developments that should always focus on in order for you to be successful throughout the career as a project manager. You can also check my channel for the other episodes where you can also pick the lessons which I'm sharing with. So let's get started. Lesson number 93. Performance monitoring is very important in a project. So my advice is, the moment you start the project, you have received the mandate, you are now initiating the project. Be sure to jot down how you are going to measure the performance of the project. The KPIs for the project, they must be very clear. If you are not able to measure the KPIs, then you are driving in the dark. You should be able to say, in terms of timelines, am I off? In terms of budget, am I off? If you are not able to measure those specific parameters, then there's going to be a very big challenge. Remember, we have a number of baselines that we have in a project. You might have your cost baseline, you might have your time baseline, you might also even have your milestone baseline, even your scope baseline, your resource baseline, as well as your technical baseline. So those are some of the items, or those are some of the parameters that you can use to measure the progress of the project. So performance monitoring of a project is very important as a project manager, and you should always make sure that you have it. That is the lesson I'm sharing with you. Lesson number 94. Don't ignore the impact of organizational culture. What do we mean by this? Each organization differs depending on the country, depending on the industry sector, depending on the region. So when you are assigned to run a project as a project manager, make sure that you do appreciate the organizational culture of that organization where you're supposed to deliver the project. That is going to save you a lot of stress. That is going to save you a lot, and that is also going to help you to deliver the project. Say, for example, I was in one of the projects where the organizational culture is too much on approval process or bureaucratic. So each time you want to do anything, it has to go through so many approvers, seniors and juniors and so on and so forth. So for you to get one decision to be approved, you might need 5 approvals. So that was kind of slowing down the way I'm used to running a project. But I had to adjust it because there was no option. There was no way I was going to change the culture within a week, within a month, or even within a year. Some of these organizational cultures, they take long to be changed. So you must make sure that you are aligning your project planning, your project execution in line with the organizational culture, so that you don't face any friction that might end up derailing the progress of your project. That is very important. You have enjoyed this video so far. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button so that you are the first person to be notified each time a new video is uploaded on this channel. Remember, this is a video where I'm taking you through the lessons learned from a personal development point of view. So lesson number 95, don't forget to keep learning. Never stop learning as a project manager. There are so many things coming into the market. There are so many things coming into the world that you have to keep learning. For example, some 20 or 30 years ago, when we were doing project management, this issue about AI was not there. The tools for AI, they were not there. But right now, almost everything is AI. So as a project manager, you need to learn artificial intelligence. How does it affect project management? You should also be keeping a trend of what is happening in the project management industry. There are now new tools coming in. You have now Asana, you have Trello, you have Microsoft Project. All these tools, you should learn them. If you don't learn them, you're going to be overtaken by events, and your skills will not be helpful for you in future. So always do some learnings. You can do some certification, PMP, you can do Prince 2, any other certification that you think is going to help you as a project manager. Never stop learning. That is good for your project, and that is also good for the success of your projects. This is one of the lessons I'm sharing with you in this video. Lesson number 96. Always adapt your own leadership style. Don't try to copy everyone. Leadership styles, they depend on the situation, they depend on the challenges, they depend also on the type of the project, they even depend on the industry that you are implementing the project. So the lesson that I've learned so far is always try to adapt your own leadership approach. If, say, for example, your leadership approach is command and control, which has never worked in projects, I would suggest that you try to shift. Adapting your own leadership style is good. Why? Because you follow a certain way of doing things your own way. You are not trying to imitate someone. You're not trying to copy someone who was successful in a similar project somewhere else. If you try to do that, once whatever you're copying is exhausted, it will be very difficult for you to be creative to move the project forward. So the best that you can do is to adapt your own leadership style, follow through it, make sure you're executing the project until the end. That is very crucial for you as a project manager in your career. Lesson number 97. Always stay calm when you're under pressure. I was in one of the projects where I was under sustained pressure for about 10 months to deliver. Everyone else was saying we are not progressing because of what Oscar is supposed to deliver. Everywhere, every level of the project, whether it's project director or project board, I used to attend project boards where every finger was actually pointing at me to say, this is the one who is making us not to progress. But how did I manage that? I made sure that I keep my composure. I made sure that if there was something that was a setback from our end, I will always pick it up and get it moving. So as a project manager, it's very, very essential that you are always cool when you're under pressure. I've seen some project managers making some mistakes. When they're under pressure, they even start shouting. They become very emotional. They become even very disrespectful to the client. You should not be doing that. Project management is all about pressure. You get pressure from your own organization, you get pressure from the client, you get pressure from the team members, you get pressure from the vendors, you get pressure from the contractors. So project management is all about pressure. So you should be able to manage, you should be able to absorb that kind of pressure, because every project has got limitations, okay? It has got limits in terms of cost, in terms of timelines, in terms of product launch period. So you'll find that you're always under pressure as long as you're running a project. Even if you're doing construction, you'll realize that some construction projects, you're under pressure. You're supposed to make sure that a specific, say for example, you're a project manager for a stadium where the sporting facility is supposed to happen in 6 months or 8 months. Obviously, you'll be under pressure to deliver in 6 months. Otherwise, you're going to affect the sporting facility. So project management is pressure from everywhere. It's up to you to make sure that you keep it cool when you're under pressure. Make sure you have the highest level of composure, you have the highest level of resilience. That is what is called project management. Lesson number 98. You should always reflect on your biases as a project manager. What do we mean by this? Everyone else has got a bias towards something. Everyone else might have made an oversight because of some bias, either in your project planning, selection of resources, selection of contractor, selection of even your client. So you should be having some time to reflect on your biases so that you make them better during the next project or the next activity. This is everywhere. Almost everyone in his life or her life, at one point, they had to make a biased decision, which was not the best decision, but a biased decision. So once you make a biased decision, make sure you correct it the next time you implement a similar approach, a similar solution, similar project, so that you get better and better. This is one of the lessons that I've learned. There's always a bias in project. Not intentional, some of them are subconscious, some of them are unintentional, but at the end of the day, you find if you try to reflect on some decision that you have made, you could pick and realize that I had a bias on this, I had a bias on this, but next time if I'm given the same scenario to make a decision or to assign a resource or to select a resource, I'm not going to make the same bias, so I'm going to be better next time. That is what you should be thinking, and that is what I'm sharing with you. Lesson number 99. As a project manager, you should always stay up to date in terms of any tools, in terms of any methodologies, in terms of any approaches that are being used in the project management field. If you don't stay up to date, you're going to try to use some old techniques, some old approaches, which might not work in this day and age. I can give you a good example from my experience. Previously, it was not very easy to have a meeting with someone who is sitting somewhere or anywhere else in the world. The meetings were supposed to be physical and normally in the same place. I've been to some meetings for 30 minutes and I had to fly from my country to that country for 4 hours just to attend a meeting for 30 minutes. But now, because of the new technologies, new tools that are now available, for example, Teams, there might not be any need for you to travel for a meeting. It can be done through online facility. Imagine you're a project manager who has not been moving with the trends and technological advancement. How are you going to have such a meeting? You are going to find it very difficult to conduct such a meeting because you're still thinking that people have to be physically sitting somewhere, without knowing that now you can use Zoom, you can use Teams, and the effectiveness is almost the same. So as a project manager, you must make sure that you are moving along with advancement in technology, changes in methodologies, changes in procedures, and so on and so forth. That is very important for your survival as a project manager. I've learned that lesson, I'm sharing with you. Lesson number 100. You should always build a strong network of project management professionals. That is very critical. You cannot exist in isolation. You will see more advantages in building networks with project management professionals than not to do that. Why? I've also gone through the same process, and I've experienced good results because of my networking with different project management professionals. For example, you get to know about the new technologies that are used efficiently to manage either resources, to manage costs, to manage scope, or even timelines. That is very, very critical. Imagine you're living in a hall and someone is coming to tell you that, you can now use AI for resource allocation. That is good feedback. That is good information that you should expect from your peers who are also running projects, either in the same industry or they are running projects in different industry. So building a network of professional project management professionals is very, very important. It will help you, especially assuming you're facing a serious problem in your project, and one of the project managers who is in another continent has gone through the same problems before, and you have connection to that project manager. It will be easy and fast for you because you're going to learn from those who have made mistakes. So you can even get in touch, whatever platform you want to use, whether it's Teams, it's WhatsApp or phone call or whatever you want to use. You can get in touch with them, explain the problem statement to them, because they're able to relate it to what they've experienced before in the previous project. They are quick to give you options. And then from those options and additional information, as a project manager, you are able to diagnose the information coming from them. You are able to match with the problem that you are facing. You are even able to polish and improve the solution that was applied by the previous project manager to make your solution better. That will also help in progressing the project. So always make sure that you have connections, you are building connections, you are building networks with other project managers. It could be in the same field, it could be in a different field, it doesn't matter. Project management, in most cases, you'll find what differs is the actual execution and the planning. But the rest of the other processes, the rest of the other procedures, the rest of the other techniques and concepts, they don't normally vary so much from industry to industry. So that is very important. You should always build a network of project management professionals throughout your career, not just for the field that you're working in, not just for the project that you're working in, but throughout your career. That is very, very important. And you can also gain from experience from those who have gone through the same process before you. If you want me to create any additional videos based on the lessons that we have discussed earlier, or you have got any specific questions or any clarification you might need based on this video, let me know in the comment section below.